Welcome back to the second episode of Real Love Scenario. Rhonda came back.
I did, although you insulted me during the first one.
I don't think I insulted you at all.
Forgive you at some point.
But we're super excited to be back. We hope you enjoyed the first episode. We're back again with another Real Love Scenario, and I think we could just
jumping right in.
We just jumping right in. Just jump right in.
I'm in.
We ain't wasting people's time over here.
Whew. All right. This is Jackie from Chicago. Hi, guys. Hey,
Jackie.
I need you guys to help settle this argument between me and my friends. Okay. So I had a little get together at my house the other day with my girlfriends and guy friends, and we were debating who is more responsible for the dating woes and all the singleness in today's world. Is it more men or women? Now, I know it's these men out here. Okay, Jackie. Okay. All right. Sorry. But I would love to hear what you guys think.
Would you like
wrap
me
this
to,
up quick?
Well, let me have comfortable in here.
I am too. I won't show you though.
I guess I can start.
Go ahead. Fight for your life here. Fight for your brothers.
This is a very complex question.
Is it?
It is.
Okay.
So number one, I will say that guys, as the leaders, are the ones who seek out and are the ones who choose in court and things like that.
Okay.
So that is a thing that men are responsible for, and that's the thing that men do in relationships, right? You
starting off right.
Yeah.
I feel a butt coming.
But
okay, here we go.
We're talking about in today's time. So we're basically saying that in a time period before, there was a time that where dating was a lot better.
Yes.
That's what she's saying.
For sure.
And she's saying in this day and age.
I was there for it, I remember.
Okay. And in this day and age, she's saying who's more responsible for singleness in today. So here's my take. I feel like guys have not really changed over time. I think that, now hear me out. I think that women have changed, and not even for the worse, really. So first, number one,
not even for the worse, really.
No, I'm saying some, yes, but no. Some, there has been some changes with women that I feel like have negatively impacted women's mindset to a certain extent.
No, in all seriousness, I don't agree. I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
Yes.
But I think that one thing that is not necessarily women's fault is that women nowadays are more independent than they were before.
Yeah.
To where it's not just this thing, it's like, find a husband, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna take care of these children while my husband works. And like this mindset of not saying that a woman who's successful can't submit, but this mindset of kind of like the submission, traditional submission kind of mindset. And I think that woman being more independent nowadays does contribute to a lot more singleness in women, which is not necessarily your fault, right?
Yes, correct.
It's you challenging men at times who step up to the plate, but also there are sometimes some women who do tend to be a little bit overboard when it comes to the independence. Like if you tell a man so much that you don't need him, he's just gonna be like,
bet.
Good, I'm good. Like,
right.
You don't want to, women, I don't care how successful you are, how independent you are, you don't ever want to get to a point to where you are basically telling your man that you don't need him, because men naturally want to feel needed. Yeah. They want to solve problems. They want to be there for you. But if he feels like, if you're making him feel like you don't need him, or you're making men feel like because you're independent that you don't need them, and not saying that you don't in a sense of to take care of yourself, but if you make them feel that way, you're gonna have a lot of trouble finding somebody. So I think that contributes to the singleness. You have a lot more independent and successful women nowadays, which makes dating challenging, especially for men who tend to be insecure or tend to be afraid of a woman who may be more successful than them or make more money than them or anything like that.
Yeah.
So you agree with me on that?
Yeah. Some of it.
Okay.
Some of it. I'm letting you get your point out.
Okay.
I have so much to say on this.
So that's one part. Like I said, it's women, but not necessarily your fault, but women.
Yeah.
well, let me ask you this question and see if you agree. If you had to pick a sex, male or female, who is the more hopeless romantic, what would you say?
Women.
Women.
Yeah,
okay.
females.
So I think that when it comes to now how social media is, it can tend to give this like glamorized view of relationships. And for those who are hopeless romantics, you're kind of awaiting this type of
horse and carriage fairy tale thing.
Yeah, this like fairy tale thing that you're seeing, these relationship goals of people that you're seeing. So sometimes you miss out on things that could be really good for you because you're waiting for this unreal thing. Because what Instagram really is, or social media is a highlight reel.
Yes.
It's showing you all the good times.
For sure.
It's not showing you
when
all
they
the
was
times.
arguing in the house over the eggs.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or all the issues that are behind that.
Yes.
So you see the highlight reel and you're like, I want the highlight reel, that their life is perfect. Their life is amazing. I want that. And then when somebody doesn't initially behave in that way, you can tend to, you know, feel like that person isn't worth working on things with or being in a relationship with. And lastly, I'll say this when it comes to...
He's fighting hard for y'all.
When it comes to...
our fault. I can feel that.
No,
I'm not saying that, but I feel it.
And lastly, I would say this, is that now with the emergence of social media and technology, I feel like women have a lot more options.
As do men.
Yes, but I feel like it's a little bit different. Like, I feel like back in the day, right? If you were the best looking girl at your high school, you were just the best looking girl at your high school. Maybe in the county or something like that. And that was it. It was like, yo, Stacy, like baddest joint at whatever high you went to. And that was it. But now with the emergence of social media, it's like you used to be the best girl in your high school, but now people in LA seeing you, people in Texas seeing you, people in Atlanta seeing you, you getting flown out to this place and flown out there. Like, you have access to so many other things. And I say this because I know women who said that they met somebody that was amazing, everything they wanted, but they're contemplating, do I want to give up this life of having this dude buy me bags, and have this dude fly me here, and have this dude do that? And it's like, well, dang, you say you found somebody who's like amazing and exactly what you want. And the only thing that's holding you back is access to all these different people from different places who are doing things for you. So I know from talking to a lot of men, they struggle with, if I'm a regular guy, it's hard for me because a lot of women out here want this kind of fantasy life, or want maybe a dude with like some clout or some like, you know, they want a certain type of man to be with.
Sure.
So it's hard for the regular guy.
Okay.
So in saying that, I think that I'll save my true thought for the end of the episode.
Okay.
Once Rhonda gives her opinion. But I truly think that men have always been the same. I think that men operate the same as they have pretty much a lot of times have always operated. I mean, back in the day, men were cheating on women. Men were having a whole bunch of babies. Men were like
true.
All these things that men do now, I feel like they were doing in biblical times. Like in the Bible, David saw a woman wife, put her husband on the front line as a king so he would die so he could take his wife and marry her. Like, that's cruddy. And that was like BC. That was before Jesus. Like, dudes.
That was BC, dog. That was BC.
Baby Jesus wasn't here yet. and men would still act like it's just, I feel like men a lot of times, I think, have operated, whether grimy or right, in the same way. And even when it comes to the insecurities of men, if women were operating in more of a submissive role in the past, then the insecurities that you may see now with a lot of men weren't necessarily highlighted back then, but they were there. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying, that the men haven't necessarily, they've always been the same, to where I feel like in this day and age, with the emergence of a lot of different things, that women now, for better or for worse, are different than women of the past.
Okay. I'm gonna work my way back.
That was convincing.
Well, I mean, to somebody, not to me. Not to me, because I'm gonna work my way
So
backwards.
you don't agree that women in this day and age are different than the women of the past?
I don't disagree.
For better or for worse.
I don't disagree with that point. I do think in many ways women are more advanced than they were back in the day. And I think, we're using that to probably speak to whether we're talking 1800s or just early 1900s, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers. Yes, certainly today's generation, millennials and down, hell, even Gen X and boomers are different than their mothers and their fathers. But I think that is true for both. And that is where I disagree with you the most, is that I think men are different than they were when back in the day. I do. While at their core, certain things are still true. Yes, in general, they might have still cheated. They might have been problematic BC. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it was as prevalent then as it is now. I think it is almost like an epidemic of how many men just do not want to commit. And when I say commit, I mean fully commit. They may provide a commitment, a tangible commitment, as in we are in a relationship, as in I am married to you. But are you truly committed? Like, are you not seeing other people? No. And while, yes, that may have been a thing back in the day, it happens. It's like commonplace now. It's almost weird to be faithful in your household, having your family with just the woman you married and not with her and 17 other people pre her, during her. I think it's just much more prevalent. So I think men have changed a lot, just like women have changed a lot. And I think, to your point, the better of women changing is our tolerance is lower, because we have been now given access by way of laws, by way of just things moving along in our world and our country that allow women to have access to reading and writing and jobs and education and all of these things that have essentially made us grow our standards or make our standards a bit more difficult to break around or get around. That part I do agree with, but I don't think that makes women necessarily responsible. I think it has posed a challenge, and unfortunately our men are failing to meet the challenge. So because it's not easy like it was, because grandma didn't know how to drive, because grandma couldn't drive. Like, she wasn't even probably given access to, depending on what year grandma was born. Mm-hmm. She had to stay in the house, so she couldn't pop up on you and you out saying you here, there, and everywhere. Grandma couldn't roll up. Grandma in the house with the kids. Grandma couldn't have a job, so she had to rely on you. And in some ways that made her exceptionally dependent upon you, even with bad behaviors, right? So yes, today that's not so much the case. We can say, in some ways proudly, that we don't necessarily need you. And it doesn't mean we don't want you. It doesn't mean that we don't really need you at your core, but what we don't need is all the bullshit that comes with you. That's what we don't need. We don't need to do and hunker down and stay in and be quiet and shut up like grandma had to do, because yes, I do have my own money. And more importantly, I value my peace of mind. I think about my grandmother. I think about even my mom, like the mental anguish that they went through dealing with their partners or husbands or whatever, because they just had to stay. I wouldn't want that. To me, that's more valuable than the fact that I can make my own money today. So I think because we now pose this, I'm not dealing with it, men find that like, oh, you're difficult. Oh, I'm not difficult. You just don't want to conform to what is appropriate. Like we just saw recently, like Russell Wilson was made to be a clown or a square because he's doing what your grandfather did, which is taking care of his family and showing up and being there. That piece of it, talking to social media. So now working my way back to the social media point, that access and that whole, you could have been the cool guy, the jock at your school. You could have been the hottest thing in your neighborhood. But now, Instagram puts you in front of thousands of women who think that you are amazing and beautiful and willing to slide in your DMs. And now women are just more, like I know I'm even one of these women where I'm willing to come up to you and be like, hey, how you doing? Like, can I buy you a drink? Or you're handsome and like pick you up. And so once you start to see that, you can get a meal in Atlanta. You can get the girl in your town to come over and clean up for you or do your laundry. You can get the girl in New York to help you do your business and do your taxes for you to do that. Why would you decide to get one woman to try to do everything? Why? So that piece is, to me, that's equal parts. Men and women are both benefiting from social media, propelling them into a much bigger pool, therefore making locking down with one person attractive. It's not attractive.
I mean, I get that. And I think you have some valid points, but we're talking about at one point it was better.
Yeah.
And that now it's different.
Yes.
I feel like what you're describing with men, it's always like there are plenty of Russell Wilsons, like, and I don't agree with what's his name?
Channing.
Yeah.
Crowder.
What he said, like, if you a man and you taking care of business, you taking care of your family, like that don't make you anything but a great man.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Nothing else to say. Like, but there have been Russell Wilsons all throughout history to where guys will look at them and say like, oh, because he's on the straight and narrow and doing things, he's corny.
We were not talking to you,
Siri. Good Lord!
Like, did somebody say?
I told you we have a bad child, and that was her younger brother, older brother, or something. I don't know who that was.
I don't know who that was.
Anyways, what I was saying is that there have been Russell, like, to where guys will look at guys who are, upstanding, doing what they're supposed to do, straight and narrow, as like corny or like square or something like that. I just feel like I said, for better or for worse, the main difference, if you look over time, if you're saying there was a time where things were better, it's that women have changed versus men.
Men have changed too, though, Dre. You can't. Are you just saying men have changed because of women changing?
I'm saying that throughout history, and that's one thing that I don't like when older generations be like, we never would have did that. It's like, well, you didn't have Instagram, you didn't have Twitter, like you would have done it. Y'all were wild back in the day, like
wild within what you had resources for.
There were some epidemics. And in your time too, growing up, where people when people was doing some crazy stuff. So I don't want to hear back in my generation, we wouldn't did this, or this is how we did things. And it's like, no, you just didn't have the access. So yeah, every generation changed based off the new technology and the things that happen and stuff like that. But I feel like the main change, if you look at society, has been the advancement of women and the mindset of women. And I think that contributes, not saying that, you're necessarily as a woman at fault and it's like your fault that you are being successful, or that you decide you wanted to be an attorney, or that, you decide that you wanted to do this or do that. But the change has been more, you've seen the change more in women than you have actually seen a change in men.
Yeah. And that was your first point, which for me, it is while it makes sense for this argument to start there, that it starts there, to me, that still reads right back to men. So
I'm also going to say this, is that for women, I will admit that dating is tough for women, especially for a successful woman.
Yeah.
Because if you take a lot of times, and this is not always the case, but if you take a successful man, or what people would deem as successful, stable income, secure, could take care of herself, not a bad looking brother, anything like that. And then you take a very successful woman that it seems like, well, it's definitely a fact that man tends to have a lot more options, because it's not frowned upon even for him to quote unquote date down if he finds the person attractive, and he can be like, I'll take care of whatever, everything else. And, you just do this, be this to me, be here. This is our partnership. This is how we're going to make things work, in a sense. So where an independent, successful woman, it could tend to be a little bit more challenging, because you all aren't, a lot of times don't tend to want to date down.
No. Like
if you are, let's say, a VP of a company, and as a woman, you make great money, but You find this guy, he's a third grade teacher, loves his job, loves the kids. This is what he wants to do. As a woman, are you like, I don't know if I could do this because of his status and what he is and what he does?
And I think that is such a, I'm again not saying it's not true, because there are no absolutes at all in life. But I think that happens more often than not, that there are so many, because I know them, I've been them, a successful woman dating down. It's not what I wanted to do. Doesn't mean that I didn't do it. It happens every day, B. I'm here to tell you, it happens every single day. There are plenty of women who are dating laterally and or are dating down, just because the numbers essentially, I don't want to say force us, but the numbers just simply don't support all of us dating exactly who we want to date. Like we would love to date up, but it's not a lot of ups. And then when you start to break that out into groups, you start to break that out into Black women that want to date Black men and then subsequently want to date up. Black women are becoming, are really the most educated that they ever have been, and in some ways out educating their counterparts.
That's true.
Are excelling in their careers and in entrepreneurship, outdoing their counterparts in many cases. So with that being said, there are plenty of women that are dating down. And so and I'm gonna say this as nice as I can, but if I'm dating down, if you are a date down, and dating down is, for the purpose of this conversation, we're talking about income or financial contribution. The last thing I'm going to be willing to deal with is anything else, because that's more than enough. I'm not going to date down and then you're going to cheat and lie, and I have to remind you to take the trash out, or for you to take, some extra money sometime and take me on a nice date or buy me some flowers. But that is what's happening. And so you're left with the date down guy or being single. And this is the purgatory you basically live in, because the up guy, the guy who would be an up to you, is 9 times out of 10 already married, already taken, or so exceptionally up that he's uninterested in being married or taken. He would much rather be out on the scene, free, single, until the day he dies, and getting his pick of the litter. Even when you look at how many wealthy men, specifically Black, again, because that's my demo. That's what I would be looking at. That's who I would be wanting to date. Yeah, like they aren't jumping at the idea of getting married. And you're saying, well, there are plenty of Russells out there. Are there? Because it's a lot of women that have been begging Sierra for this prayer, finally got it, putting it into action, and Russell's just still, he not showing up. So I think that there are less Russells than the perception. And maybe the Russells are, just when you say Russell, not necessarily all that Russell represents, which is, yes, a great family man. Yes, seemingly a good guy. Love his mama, love his sisters, and all that good stuff. But he's also an up in the financial department. Yeah,
so that's what I'm saying, is that first I said there was a lot of Russells throughout history. Like, that's what I'm saying, is that Russ isn't the first Russ type of guy throughout history.
No, of course not.
But yeah, there are a lot of good guys. Now, like I said, do they make are they multimillionaires, and are they in the NFL and stuff like that? Maybe not.
And willing to take your baby in at 6 months.
Yeah, but there are a lot of great men out there. And I think that's the thing too, is that as a woman, will you really be satisfied if you feel like you're dating down? Because even what you just said right now, it's like, oh, like I'm already dating down. And that's one thing I want to talk about too, as as a side note, now that I'm thinking about this, is that something that Bree told me that always interested me in my relationship. And she said, when we were dating, she was like, you're the first guy that I ever felt lucky to be with. All my past relationships, I felt like he was lucky to be with me. And I think about that, and I do think that when you have that mindset, you tend to operate a lot differently. If you feel like somebody's lucky to be with you versus you being lucky to be with them.
Yeah.
Because if you feel like somebody's lucky to be with you, you are looking at them like, you better not mess this up, because I'll be gone in a second. Like, I have other options. You lucky I'm here.
Yeah.
And you tend to operate a little bit different versus if you are in a relationship and you're like, I'm lucky to find this person or be with this person. And not saying that in the relationship I was with Bree that I didn't feel like, you know, I'm happy to have her and be with her. But I think when you have that mindset, especially as a woman, you tend to operate a little bit differently.
I think so too. But I also think that feeling or that notion of that operating from the space of like, oh, you better not mess up. I don't think it's anything wrong with having a decent amount of fear in a relationship of losing it. Because sometimes fear yields a proper amount of fear will yield respect. You wouldn't do anything to jeopardize this relationship because it's so good. This person is so good to you. They're so supportive. They're so whatever the things are. So you wouldn't want to do anything to jeopardize it. So I get it. I mean, I'm not saying you should walk around with this air of like, child, I lowered my standards for you. You better not, you better not come incorrect. But I think that is a big part of the problem, and not to get overly deep because I don't have all the stats to support this. But a lot of women's decision, what may look like a decision to be independent, what may look like a decision to become entrepreneurs and stand on their own and not necessarily get into relationships, you can trace that back to it not truly being a decision. It was a decision almost made for us. And that goes into 60s and the 70s when drugs came into neighborhoods, when just the country shifted and changed, and in many ways took men out of the households. And so this is what we had to do. If I sat home, or my grandmother sat home, or my mother, really more my mom's generation, sat home and just like waited, we would have been living outside. We would have been on the street. Like, I don't think my mother wanted to drive a clamp operating forklift truck with steel toe boots and a silk blouse on in a factory with men. I don't think that's really what she would have preferred to do. My mom wanted to be a mom, for the most part, stay-at-home mom with 5 boys. Life just didn't hand her those cards for a multitude of reasons. Again, we can get into them. I'm sure you can look them up and read them, but that's what then takes me back to it being men. And it sucks that we play this blame game, right? Jackie is in her house and they're having this debate. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. We both have certainly played a part. Both genders have played a part. But I do think, with your opening point, that men are the choosers. They are the pickers. A man finds a wife. A man finds and creates a family with the woman that he chose. It's not the other way around. And I also think that we get such the short end of the stick because we are independent, right? So now it's, well, I mean, you want to work so bad. You want to be able to take care of yourself so bad. So I don't want to have to do these things. I don't want to rise to the occasion. I
feel like it depends. A lot of things depend also on what circles you run in, right? And what you see. Because I hear from a lot of, I know men who are good men, right? Ready for relationships, solid dudes, but it's a real feeling that a lot of men feel like a lot of women out here don't want the everyday guy. Yes. Right?
Yeah, and I would never debate that. I have friends who are like that.
Or you don't want to grind with me. Like, because I can attest that Bree has elevated me to a level that I would not and could not be able to do on my own. Yeah. Bree is better than me at 90% of things. Women are amazing, like, just in general. And if you find the right one, a woman will elevate you to a level that you never thought. I mean, look at the best men in history. They all married.
You heard it here first, y'all. Get your wife. Get your wife. Like, okay, that's you're going up if you get yourself a wife. You do that.
That's the truth. Like,
it's the truth.
I mean, finding a wife is amazing.
It's a good thing. That's what the good Lord said. That's what He said.
Wife is a good.
Come on, baby Jesus.
A good thing. Very good thing. Yeah. No, but finding a wife is a good thing, and finding a right woman does elevate you to a new level. So it's just.
And I don't think enough men today, and again, no absolutes here, because Instagram, television, lots of talking points, and we don't want to be these heads that make you think that people aren't still getting married, because they are. Yeah. People are still falling in love. People are still building beautiful families. So it is happening. It's certainly happening, but the stats don't lie. That singleness is is major, and in some ways celebrated. Like, some people are so proud and happy to be single. Like, I remember a point where I was like, I'm good. Like, I don't even want anything right now, because I do want to focus on myself, my career, my things. I don't want a partner in the way, because I felt like they would be in the way, that they would be a distraction. So it is a problem, and I think we both contribute to it. But because men are the leaders, I feel like just by design, you have more control over that. And if you even just committed under the circumstances of, I'm committing to you, but not so much because I'm still going to be outside, the numbers would still show that, because that's what your grandfathers did. That's what your great grandfathers did. They still committed. They still found a wife. They still built a family. They still built a home, even with all of the other foolishness they had going on. They still made that, where now it's like, nah, I'm not doing that. Oh, I am, but I'm going to do it 6 times. I'm going to put a little family over here, a little family over there, a little baby right here.
So here's the thing. When it comes to this topic and conversation, I just want to give representation to the guys who are good guys out there, who feel like, I'm a good guy. You know, I will love you to forever and back, but you don't want me because I'm average. I'm average.
Yes.
I work at UPS, or because, you know, I drive a Toyota Camry or a Nissan Altima, or, you know, or something, just because I'm not like this thing that you feel like you should be dating, or you feel like you would be dating, or that you won't grind with me. And that's what I was speaking about with Bree, is that, like, when we met, I was in property management. I was assistant property manager. You were my boss. And now you fast forward 5 years later, it's like I have my own company, I have my own network, and I'm doing all these things. And a large part of that is because of my wife. Yeah. And if she was like, she would only be with me if I was at the point where I'm at now, then she wouldn't even have me, because who knows what I'll be doing now. Yes. You know what I'm saying? But even though I took her in when we first met and, you know, paid for everything and stuff like that, there was a point to where, you know, when I quit my job, she was doing a lot to say, like, I'm going to help you, you know, get on this path that you want to get on in order to make things make sense. So I feel like that's an issue as well, is that a lot of guys feel that, you know, either a woman doesn't recognize them as a good man, they want somebody with clout or something like that, or that you're not willing to, I have these dreams, aspirations, and things I want to do, but it's taking me some time to get there. I'm working there, and I'm grinding to try to get to that point, and you're not willing to go through that with me. Which, as a woman, that's your, if you don't want to,
the road there
if you don't want to do that,
it's crowded.
You don't have to do that, right? You don't have to do that at all, but you can miss out on some good people, because at this point they may seem average or regular or something like that. But these guys, you know, are grinding and building towards something. Even if, like I said, if you saw me 4 or 5 years ago, like, you may think, oh, like, you're just a leasing agent or something like that. But now, but if you look at me at 28 and 29, like, the things that I'm doing now, the places I've been, the rooms that I've been in, the people I've been around, it's like, oh, your life is lit. Like, for sure. But it took somebody being in partnership with me in order to achieve that from the beginning. Yeah. And we built what we had and grew it from the beginning. So I say that to say that, yes, men do have to take charge as a man and lead. I will say this: most men that I know who are ready for a relationship get in a relationship. Or it's not for lack of options.
There we go.
Like, even the people that I know that want to be in relationships, they were dating seriously. Some of the women were crazy. A little. It happens. Yeah, it happens. But you tend to have as a man, if you're doing very well for yourself, and the thing that sucks too is, even as men, you don't necessarily have to be the most attractive guy. If you have the rest of everything together, in order to find someone, to where, for women who people perceive to be unattractive, it's a lot more difficult. It is. Because a guy isn't necessarily willing to look past that because you're successful. You know what I mean? It's like, I have my own, you know what I mean? Like I don't need you to pay for me or anything like that. Like I want to come home and see somebody that I'm like, dang. Girl.
And see, that's the flip side of the whole average conversation, right? So average, when women define it about men, it is based in income. It's usually based in that. That's what we mean by that. And when men say that, it is based in aesthetics. It's not based in a woman's income. It's based in her looks. It's based in her body structure and all of these things. And so that offset, to me, that's the mirror. While it's actually two different things, those are the average mirrors where, like you said, even an average guy, I think, is looking for potentially an above average aesthetic, right? Like he may very well be okay with her making what he makes or less than, not being where she wants to be in life. He can support that. He can get in the mud with her. But that aesthetic needs to be, for him, to me, above average. And I think most men want an above average aesthetic. It's not, they're outliers, and obviously beauty is in the eye of the beholder. We understand all of that. But yeah, I think that's it. But I do want to give full credence to what you were saying about good men who are average earners, and they get overlooked because of that. Not every woman, but there are lots of women out here, and the societal things that we see and listen to, from music to videos, will tell you, like, you need to hit a lick. He gotta do something for you in order for you to feel like he really likes you and he really loves you. I don't love that idea. Like you said, I mean, if that's what you want, then cool. I would never say it's wrong. I just think it's unrealistic, and that road is exceptionally crowded. Every woman, even the woman who's willing to date the average man, has at least one part of her foot in the line for the above average man. like I'm gonna deal with you over here, Ray. But as soon as Dante come up and he likes me, I don't know if I could do this. Like, yeah. I'm definitely gonna, they're gonna jump ship. But yeah, I don't think that that's right. I think obviously relationships should be rooted in more than what you look like and how much money you can make and contribute. And that's really for both sides. But, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are endless points to say it's men or it's women. I realistically think it's both of us. And it's because we don't see what you got out of your marriage, which is an elevation. And you a partnership. You both feel like your partnership elevated your lives. It elevated you. It elevated her. And I think even when you think about the perception around, if you say I'm getting married versus a woman says I'm getting married, two women. A woman says she getting married to women. We like, oh my God, congratulations, crying, just doing the most. Mm-hmm. Man say to his fellas, depending on the circle, I'm getting there, and they like, damn, you hanging up your hat.
Another one bites the dust.
Damn, you get you out. Damn, man, we gonna miss you. It's like, it is not celebrated as much from men. And again, depending on the circle. And I do think you're amongst men. And I think in some ways that's very intentional for you, that you put yourself in a circle of men who would champion you being married, champion you being faithful. And it's not enough men who do that. The pressures of like, nah, man, you don't, even the little, what do you call them? Like figures of speech with like, the old ball and chain, my old lady. Like, why are there such negative connotations for marriage when it comes from the male perspective versus from the woman perspective? I think that speaks to it too. It's not celebrated enough. It is not elevated enough to show that partnership is what is all about. You recognize how important partnership is in practically every other part of your life. You think about your employer, you think about business, even if you are a sole proprietor, right? You are the only person that's really running your business. You can't still do it by yourself. No, you're going to need help. You're going to need help, whether that's a team, whether that's a system that helps you run your business. So why is it when it comes to relationships, everybody gets all weird about it? Like, I don't need that. And that's both women and men. Like, I know for a fact I need partnership. I need it and I want it.
I mean, it's balance. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. You need somebody to balance you out. That's one thing I learned in my relationship is that, I always thought I was trying to find or need to find somebody who was like me, but finding somebody who wasn't like me benefited me even more.
Yeah.
But I want to mention with something that you said when it comes to partnership that a lot of women, and still speaking for the guys, some guys on this, but this is just in general when dating, is that if you decide that you would like to date up, or I guess, or you want to not even date up to say that you're not of a certain caliber yourself. It's more that if you decide that you want this high level person, or this person of this amazing person, you first need to make sure that you're on that level too.
Hello.
Like I always say this, a relationship is not two halves coming together, it's two wholes growing together. So you have to be whole within yourself in order to make this relationship work, especially if you're trying to get with a man or woman who's high value. So don't say that there aren't any good men when you're shooting for the stars, but you acting like dirt in a sense. Like what you bring into the table ain't enough to attract somebody up here, but you aiming for up here.
That's it. You talking now.
Like,
go ahead. What's your cash app? You talking. Because
that's the thing that I see a lot too, is people like, there ain't no good men, or there ain't blah, 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 this situation, or there's nothing out here for me. You're aiming up here, but you don't realize you jacked up. Like you aren't of high value. Even if you meet this guy, he gonna take a look at you and be like, what's going on? And you gonna look at a guy too, especially, I hate to say it, but you see it with a lot of women who are very, very attractive sometimes, to where it's like, this it. This is it. And a lot of guys will take that, right? Yeah. A lot of guys will take that.
Because they have the above average aesthetic.
Exactly. Yes. But if you take a high value, like a dude that's up at this level, he gonna look at that and be like, this is it. Like that's all you bring to the table. And but if that's the level that you continue to shoot at, and that's what you want, and you think that there are no good dudes out here because of that, you're going to always be disappointed, because you need to make sure you're at the level of what you're trying to date. And that's a lesson right there. Make sure if you're trying to date at a level, that you at that level. That's it. That's for men and women.
That's for both.
And
if anybody wants to take any cuts on that, any shortcuts on that, that's your prerogative. Yeah. But I think everybody should be going into it with at least bringing what you want to the table. Like, I am never going to ask for something I cannot provide. Like, at all. I'm not bringing something to the table. As the memes say, I am the table. We need more than one in our household. We do. So, I would never say, well, I need you to do this, but I'm unwilling to do that. And it may not always look like the actual equal parts.
For sure.
But I'm going to contribute to this household. I'm going to contribute to this partnership. I'm going to make it what you want, what I want, what we both need in order for this partnership to flourish. Like, so I hated that, in some ways relationships get such a bad rap that they're a distraction. You hear people say that, like, oh, I don't want to get in a relationship because I don't have time for it. It's almost like it feels like an afterthought. Like, and again, not knocking you. If you really know you're not ready for a relationship, that makes sense. But to view something so, to me, again, hopeless romantic, to view something so beautiful, something that is really designed to enhance your life in every way, whether that's by being fruitful and multiplying humans, or being fruitful and multiplying everything, your whole lives together, I'm going to make time for that.
You know what I hate?
What?
I hate when people say monogamy isn't a thing. Like, I hate when people say monogamy isn't a natural thing.
Yes.
I hate it. It's like, just because something is difficult doesn't mean it's not meant to be, or that you shouldn't do it. All good things in life
require work.
Yes. The more work you put in, most of the time the bigger the reward is.
Yes.
It's like with investing, risk and reward. If you have low risk, what's the reward going to be? Very low. If you have high risk, the reward tends to be a lot higher. Monogamy is hard.
You know what I love? That you just helped me make my point, because this is exactly what I was saying earlier, that men have, speaking in general, men have found that now getting into a relationship is more difficult because the standards and the measurement is a little higher. It's not that much higher. It's a little higher. So it's like, it's just easier to have a bunch of them. It's just easier to stay out of a relationship.
Well, that goes two ways, because one thing so first I'll say this. I think all women who are listening to this should get out their mind that there are no good men in this world.
For sure.
Get out of that, because the moment
they may be hard to find, but they are here, ladies.
Because the moment, if you take that mindset, the moment you meet a decent man, you'll tend to invest way more than what you should into that man. Settling for that man who really probably isn't your person. So if you take that mindset of that there are no good men, you're going to tend to settle, because you're going to come across somebody,
good enough.
I'm 32. You know, this. I guess this could work. I'll make this work, and it's not really what you want.
Yeah.
So first, take that mindset and just
let it go.
Let it go. That's what I think.
Yeah, and to your point about anything that's really worth having is worth working for. If you want a good man, it's not necessarily, you should in some ways embrace the idea that it's a little more difficult to find. You know, you think about the most valuable things in the world, they're not a million of them. They're not, it's hard. So yes, you may have to be doing more work on you to put yourself in position to be around these men. You may have to open up your mind to dating differently, finding people in different spaces, but also just dating differently. I mean, something as simple as being open to coffee dates versus dinner dates. I know women who are not open to going to get coffee on the first date because they feel like that's a $20 date. And it's like, but you're putting the value on how much the person spends versus what you took away from the date. To me, that's more valuable. I've had horrible $300 dates and amazing $20 dates because the conversation was completely different. The compatibility was completely different on that $20 date. We got to focus less on, you know, how many things are hitting the table and what I really wore. And we got to really focus on what we talked about and really learning each other and getting interest. I mean, my first date with my boyfriend was not a wildly expensive date. It just wasn't. And we're in a relationship today.
That's important because people understand, especially in the first dates, second dates, you need to ask yourself, what is your goal here?
Yeah.
What is your goal? Like, you're really trying to figure out if you like this person, learn a little bit more about them. Like, having a $300 dinner really doesn't have much to do with
the quality of the date,
of who that person is.
No.
You know, I'd rather go to coffee and realize you're not the person for me versus going to Chima's or some high-end steakhouse and doing all this. And now probably you have an expectation like, oh, you did this and that. Like, I would feel like if I was a woman, like if I'm truly out here dating to find somebody and trying to get to know somebody, I'd rather have a coffee. If we sitting there 30 minutes in, I'm just like, I can cut it short and just go about my day. It's not like I invested a lot into this and did this and did that, like to get ready and all. Like, and then, you know, when you work up to that point and you get a guy who wants to do something special for you, then you can hit the later dinners and do something nice and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you've invested more on what matters. And so it feels easier to invest money, which is a resource. I mean, I think about myself. I am willing to pay more money for things that I know will give me a great return.
Exactly.
And so to me, dating is very similar. Like, and women, you may not want to hear this, but unless this man is very well off or has all his ducks in a row, if he is single when he meets you, you are single, it's expensive to date. I don't envy men for having to pick up these tabs. I really, really don't, because my God, if you are, again, I don't even know why y'all want to be single spending all this money. Like, to me, I would be like, let me find my wife.
No, being married is more money. You spend more money.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. So much for that.
I'm just saying.
You did just tell me about a very expensive hookah.
Yeah. Yes.
But you know, I don't know. I don't envy that. But you know what? I have a question for you.
Okay.
When you talk about, you know, the average man and, you know, how he feels overlooked in many ways by women who want the world. They want the millionaire billionaires of the world. What do you think they could maybe, you know, do better to change that mind? Do you think that they can do anything to maybe increase their chances of getting these women into them? Do you think that they could have a different approach? Do you find anything that's similar in these guys other than their average earners? Is there something else that might make them appear unattractive?
Through my experience, I guess the guys that I don't think you can be an average earner and also be what people perceive to be not attractive. Because we all know we all know we've seen some ain't dudes who women find attractive who
absolutely
have been with the best of them, and you be looking at the woman like, why are you with this dude? And it's like
80 to 90% of y'all rappers and celebrities. Facts. Go ahead. I said it with my chest.
But I tend to see that if you're a mid-level, like, you know, average earner, and you're not what people would perceive to be attractive, you will have trouble a lot of times as a man. But honestly, I think for those guys who do see, because it's tough. Let's say, for instance, Megan Good, right? I don't care what you earn. Megan Good is beautiful. Yes. So if you're an average earner, high earner, you're gonna see a woman that's beautiful and think that woman is beautiful. Like, yes. So it's like, and it's tough for men who see and they like, I want somebody of that caliber, but that type of woman is just not interested in me. And that's just a reality sometimes. But I think that for a lot of the people that you want who seem to be shallow, you don't want those people anyway.
Yeah.
Because the guys, a lot of times that they're going after, those women who are shallow, they end up not getting what they want out of those guys either. So I think that for you as a man, you just stay the course. You continue to be you, and you continue to elevate. If you are a guy who's what we call him, an average earner, most of the time, if you stay consistent, as men get older, they tend to grow in their career. They tend to become more stable, become more secure, and you'll find a woman who values that.
Yeah.
And it's important to find somebody who values what you bring to the table. And you want, and I can speak to this, like I said earlier, you want somebody who feels like, I'm very lucky to be with this person. Like, I've searched so long and I found my person. This person brings me stability, security. I'm attracted to them. Like the girl T from the last episode. Like, you want somebody who sees that in you versus you chasing somebody, trying to convince them that you are a good guy. Like, you shouldn't have to feel like you have to always convince them, because then you'll go crazy trying to convince them. You'll be doing things, spending outside of your income. You'll be doing things that you don't do, acting outside of yourself to try to attract these people, to tell them that, you know, you are what they want or what they need. And then a lot of people, they'll tend to prey on that. A lot of women will prey on that, and they'll get what they need out of you. Like, they'll see, or they'll do things to keep you hanging on, to keep you around, right? To keep you interested and keep you doing things when they're really not interested in you. If they get that whiff of like, oh, this person, like, they'll do anything.
Basically a sucker,
Like he's a sucker. Like, and I've had guys who, like, I've told dudes, like, been in mutual situations. I'm like, yo, shorty is not, like, bro, it's literally nothing you could do. She just doesn't see you in that way. Yeah. But we'll still try to do these things to try to show her, like, yo, and it's like,
it's me, I'm the one.
Like, no, like, she don't feel that way about you. And it's nothing. And honestly, if there was one thing that you could do that would make her do it, it would just be by leaving her alone. Right?
That's true. Like, yes, you can't get the person, the fastest way to get somebody to beat down your door is to close it.
Exactly.
Get them on the other side of the door, and here they come. Yes.
Exactly.
It's the hey big head for me.
For sure. And I think that and I mean, there's so much to talk about when it comes to dating and this stuff like that. But
the games.
I'll end with this as we're about to end this episode. Is that I feel like there's, and I won't say even in this generation, I just feel like with people in general, we always hear the cliche that communication is 90% like nonverbal. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to relationships and dating, people tend to not like, that doesn't tend to register. Mm-hmm. It's like somebody could not say something but be saying a lot.
Yes. There is so much to hear in silence.
Oh my gosh, there's so much to hear in silence, so much to hear in actions, and they're telling you something, but you refuse to believe it because they won't say something out their mouth.
Yeah.
So watch people's actions.
Yeah, you gotta have that discernment.
Will tell you exactly. I'll tell people all the time. I can say anything to serve my own self. Mm-hmm. Like if I want a discount at the Microsoft store or Apple store, you know what I can say?
You a student?
I'm a student. Yeah, I'm a student. I get my 10% off. I can say anything I want to serve my own self. Mm-hmm. Like the things that I want. I play in the NBA. I'm an attorney. Like you see all these things coming out my mouth, but the actions. What you'll see is that I do not play in the NBA. I do not practice law. I do not go to school every day. And my actions, you will see the truth.
Yes.
So look at the nonverbal things when you're dating people and understand what those people are saying with those nonverbal actions.
That's such good advice. Such good advice. And I think our final answer to Jackie is it's both.
It's both.
It's both.
It's both.
I mean, we are each other. You know what I mean? We are a reflection of one another. Without working together, it's division. It's going to continue to cause division if we don't figure it out and find the beauty in actually having partnerships. And you know, we didn't say this in our inaugural episode, but obviously, our advice or anything we talk about on this show, because we are heterosexual people, will frame what we're talking about in relationships with men and women. But this, to me, applies to all. You know, this applies to every community, the LGBTQ plus community. It's if we aren't working together to find the beauty in these and having healthy, fruitful relationships, we both play a part. We have to be realistic that we're failing one another by not being more intentional about this. So, Jackie, this would be a draw. We can't help you break your tie with your friends. Although, you know, I mostly agree with you that it's men, but I can't. In my heart, I can't say, because again, I have friends. I know people.
We all know situations where it's been either person.
Yes.
In every situation, and it's just because everybody's specific. They're looking for something specific, and you know, it's tough, and it shouldn't, like we said, every good things don't come easy. Like
they don't.
Like it's not easy to find the person that you're saying, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want you to help me raise my children. Yes. You're going to be the biggest influence in my life. To find that person is not going to be an easy thing, and that doesn't mean that it's impossible or that there's nobody out there for you. But it just means that, you know, it just may take some time. You know,
it may take some time,
and you just gotta be patient and do things to improve yourself. I always say preparation is still progress. So if you want to progress towards being with the person you want to be with, preparing yourself is still progressing towards that, even if it's in your singleness.
Ba-da-bam.
Good way to end.
Perfect.
So thank you for tuning in to this episode. As always, so you can follow me at It's Dre Smith on Instagram. You can follow Rhonda
at Ronnie Cakes.
And please follow the Relationship Restored Instagram at Relationship Restored on Instagram. And also subscribe and like and comment to this thing and on this channel and reviews and stuff like that. And if you have a real life scenario, make sure to go to relationshiprestored.com. You'll see real life scenario right at the top. Just click that and you'll be able to give us your real life scenario.
So want to get in your business.
Talk about this and comment, like give this person advice. Talk, like, what do y'all think?
Please.
What do you think?
I would love to see that. Like, let's go on this one.
Yeah, let's see what y'all think.
Yeah.
I have a feeling what it's gonna be, but
you know what it's gonna be, and I ain't gonna say it.
All right, see y'all.